The school building was almost empty at night, and the long hallways felt cold and still. Only one dim blue light flickered near the lockers, and the silence was so deep that even a soft breath could be heard. Evan, a tired single dad and a night shift. Janitor pushed his cleaning cart slowly across the floor. It had been a long day, and all he wanted was to finish his shift and go home to his small apartment. But tonight, something felt different. Something felt wrong. As he reached the end of the hallway, Evan suddenly stopped. He felt a strange light movement behind him, like someone had brushed the air. He turned around quickly with his mop still in his hand, but he saw nothing. The hallway was empty. Cold and quiet. Still, Evan could feel someone watching him. He took a deep breath and continued walking, but after only a few steps, he heard it, a soft scrape, almost like tiny feet sliding across the ground. He spun around again. This time he noticed a shadow near the corner of the wall. Evan moved closer, his boots echoing in the empty hallway. He pushed his cleaning cart aside and stepped toward the dark corner. And then he saw her, a small alien girl, curled tightly like she was trying to disappear. Her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly under the blue light. Her eyes were large, bright, and full of fear. She was shaking so hard that even her shadow trembled on the wall. Evan froze. He had seen alien students before at this mixed species school, but he had never seen this girl. She looked weak, thin, and scared, like she had not eaten properly in days. "Hey, it's okay," Evan whispered gently. He raised both hands to show he meant no harm, but the girl didn't move. She didn't blink. She didn't make a single sound. Evan slowly crouched down so he would not look big or threatening. "What are you doing here?" he asked softly. The girl only hugged her knees tighter. Her eyes darted around the hallway like she expected someone to appear and grab her. Evan noticed something strange. The girl's lips were tightly sealed, not in fear, but like she could not open them to speak. Her throat looked like it held years of silence. He tried again. "My name is Evan. I'm a janitor here. I won't hurt you." Still no answer, no voice, not even a whisper. The girl slowly reached out and pulled a broken plastic tag from her pocket. It had a single word scratched on it. "Lyra? So your name is Lyra?" Evan asked gently. The girl gave the smallest nod, barely visible. It was the first sign of trust he saw in her. Evan looked around. "Are you lost? Did someone leave you here?" Suddenly Lyra's eyes widened in fear. Her breathing became fast and shaky, like she remembered something terrible. Evan's heart tightened. Whoever she was scared of, they might still be close. A soft wind moved through the hallway, but all windows were closed. Evan felt a chill down his spine. He slowly stood up and offered his hand. "You can come with me. I have food. You look hungry." Lyra did not stand, but she stared at Evan's hand like she had never seen kindness before. Very slowly, she lifted her small hand and touched his fingers for just 1 second before pulling back quickly. It was not a full trust, but it was the beginning of one. Evan took a deep breath. "Okay, we don't have to rush. You can stay here for a moment." He reached into his janitor cart and pulled out a small whistle he sometimes kept for his daughter. It was simple and made of metal. It produced a soft, gentle sound. Evan blew it lightly. A sweet tone echoed through the hallway. Lyra jerked her head up, surprised. For the first time, a spark of curiosity appeared in her eyes. Evan placed the whistle on the floor and slid it toward her. "It's for you," he said softly. Lyra stared at it. Her fingers shook as she slowly picked it up. She brought it close to her lips but stopped. She wanted to try. She wanted to make a sound, but something inside her was blocking her. Her shoulders trembled. Her eyes filled with fear and longing at the same time. Evan felt his chest tighten. Something terrible had happened to her, something that stole her voice, something she was running from before he could ask anything. Evan heard a faint noise outside, a slow, heavy step. Not human, not friendly. Lyra's eyes widened with terror. She pressed herself against the wall, her entire body shaking. Evan whispered, "Who's out there?" But Lyra only closed her eyes, and for the first time, Evan realized she was not just hiding, she was being hunted, and tonight, her hunter might already be inside the school. Evan stood still in the quiet hallway. His heart beat faster after hearing that strange heavy step outside the building. But when he looked at Lyra, the silent alien girl curled in fear, he knew she needed him. She was alone, hungry, scared, and unable to speak. He slowly placed himself between her and the hallway entrance. "Don't worry, I'm here," he whispered. She didn't respond, but her eyes softened a little. As if she believed him for a moment, Evan gently reached for his cleaning cart, pulled out a small packet of crackers, and placed it in front of her. Lyra stared at the food like she wasn't sure it was allowed. Her thin fingers shook as she touched the wrapper. Then she looked up at Evan, as if asking for permission. He nodded softly. "It's for you," he said. "You can eat." Slowly, Lyra opened the packet and took a tiny bite. The moment the food touched her tongue, her eyes filled with emotion, hunger, relief, and something like sadness. Evan realized she had not eaten properly in a long time. As she ate quietly, Evan sat on the floor at a safe distance. He didn't want to scare her. He wanted her to feel safe. He wanted her to know humans could be kind too. After a minute, he spoke. In a calm voice, "Lyra, do you live here? Have you been hiding in the school?" She slowly nodded, but her face held a secret pain. Evan could tell she had been sleeping behind lockers, in storage rooms, maybe even inside ceiling ducts. "How long?" he asked. She lifted 2 trembling fingers. "Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 months. Evan wasn't sure, but it was long enough to leave deep scars inside her heart. He noticed her throat again. There was a faint, pale mark around her neck, like something had once been tightly wrapped there. Some device, some punishment, something cruel, something that stole her voice. Evan felt anger rise inside him. Who would hurt a child like this? Lyra looked at the whistle in her hand. She raised it slightly, almost asking how it worked. "You blow gently," Evan said as he mimed the action. He placed his fingers near his lips and made a soft blowing motion. Lyra watched carefully. She tried to copy him. She held the whistle to her lips, but when she breathed out, no sound came. Instead, her entire body shook. Her breath broke halfway like old fear was blocking it. "It's okay," Evan whispered. "You don't have to rush." Lyra lowered the whistle but kept holding it tightly like it was something precious, something safe, maybe the first safe thing she ever had. Suddenly, the hallway lights flickered. Lyra jumped in panic. Her eyes darted left and right like she expected someone dangerous to appear. "Easy. Easy," Evan said, slowly raising his hands. But the terror in her eyes grew deeper. She pointed toward the entrance door with shaky fingers. Evan looked and his heart dropped. A long, thin shadow moved across the glass window. The same heavy step echoed again. Someone or something was walking around the building, searching, hunting for her. Evan quickly grabbed his keys. "Lyra, come with me," he whispered. He opened a small supply room close to the hallway. Inside were shelves, mops, boxes, and a small chair. It wasn't a perfect hiding place, but it was better than the open hallway. Lyra didn't move at first. She looked terrified of entering the room, terrified of being closed inside. Evan knelt in front of her. "Listen," he said softly. "I won't lock the door. I won't leave you alone. I just want to keep you safe." Lyra stared at him for a long second. Then she slowly stepped inside the supply room, her small legs weak and unsteady. Evan stood at the door, keeping it half open so she could see him. "You're safe," he repeated gently. "I promise." Lyra hugged the whistle close to her chest, her silent eyes filled with trust she didn't fully understand yet. Evan leaned against the doorframe and let out a shaky breath. He had no idea who was outside. But one thing was clear. This girl wasn't just hiding. She was escaping something far worse than hunger or loneliness. And now, without planning it, Evan had become responsible for her. A janitor, a single dad, a man with simple tools and tired arms. Yet tonight he was the only shield she had. As the shadow outside passed by again, slower this time, Evan realized something. Whoever was searching for Lyra was getting closer, and soon they would step into the school. Evan kept the supply room door half open so Lyra could see him. He wanted her to feel safe. He wanted her to know she wasn't alone outside. The strange shadow moved slowly across the windows, and the night air felt heavy with danger. Lyra sat on the floor, her knees pulled to her chest. She held the whistle tightly with both hands. Her silver skin looked even paler under the dim lights. Her large eyes watched every movement Evan made, half curious, half scared. Evan tried to smile gently. "You're doing well," he whispered. "Everything will be okay." But inside he wasn't sure. Whatever was searching outside, it wasn't human, and it wasn't friendly. He could feel it, the same way Lyra felt it. Fear sat in the air like dust. To distract her, Evan sat down on the floor just outside the closet and picked up a small paper cup. He breathed lightly across the rim, creating a faint airy sound. Lyra leaned forward a little, watching closely. "You see?" Evan said softly. "Sound comes from the breath. It doesn't have to be loud." He pointed to her whistle. "You can try too." Lyra lifted the whistle to her lips again. Her hands trembled. Her breath came out broken and weak. The whistle stayed silent. Not even a tiny note came out. Lyra's shoulders shook. Her throat tightened. Her eyes filled with fear, as if she was remembering something painful. Evan felt a stab of worry. "Hey, it's okay," he whispered. "Immediately, you don't have to make a sound right now." But Lyra shook her head. She wanted to try. She wanted to speak again, even if only through a whistle. She tried breathing again and again. But each time, her breath broke in the middle. It was as if something inside her chest had been trained to never make sound. Evan leaned closer, slowly so he wouldn't scare her. He tapped his chest lightly. "Breathing from here helps," he whispered. "Slow. Soft, safe." Lyra watched him. Then she placed her hand on her own chest like she was copying him. Her breath steadied a little. She brought the whistle near her lips, tried again. A faint air sound came, still no note, but it was the first time she made any intentional sound at all. Evan's eyes softened. "That's good, Lyra." "That's really good." Lyra blinked, surprised at herself. Her eyes shimmered with something small and fragile hope. But the moment was cut short. A loud metallic thud echoed from the other side of the hallway. Lyra flinched hard and dropped the whistle. Her breathing turned fast and panicked. Evan quickly reached forward and placed a gentle hand near her, not touching her, just letting her see he was there. "You're safe," he whispered again. "I won't let anything happen to you, but—" Lyra wasn't looking at Evan anymore. She was staring at the hallway. Her eyes were wide with terror. Slowly, she raised her shaky hand and pointed at the door. Evan turned his head. From the darkness, he saw a tall figure pass by the far end. Not human. Its shadow stretched unnaturally long on the wall. Its movements slow, careful, hunting. Evan felt his heart freeze. So Lyra was being hunted. Someone wanted her back, not with love, but with force. Maybe for punishment, maybe for control. He whispered, "Lyra, who is that?" Lyra didn't speak. She couldn't. But she picked up a small piece of cardboard from the supply room floor. With shaking hands, she used a pencil to draw a symbol, a circle with jagged lines around it. She pushed the drawing toward Evan. Evan recognized it. He had seen this symbol in alien news broadcasts. It belonged to a dangerous group known for capturing and controlling weaker alien species. A group called the Silent Claw. They enforced strict silence on certain young ones. Through fear, through pain, through devices that suppressed voices. And Lyra, she was one of their victims. Evan's jaw tightened. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was just a janitor, but right now, he was the only one standing between this terrified child and her hunters. Lyra crawled a little closer. She wasn't touching him, but she stayed near him as if his presence made her feel safer. Evan gently picked up the whistle and placed it back in her hands. "This whistle is yours," he whispered. It's stronger than they think. Lyra stared at the whistle. Fear slowly turning into determination. Her small chest rose and fell as she prepared to try again. But before she could bring it to her lips, another loud step echoed, closer, heavier. The hunter was inside the school now, walking slowly, searching. And Evan knew the next few minutes would change everything. The school hallway had never felt so quiet. Every small sound echoed like thunder. Evan kept himself still, his back straight, his breath slow. He listened to the footsteps coming closer, heavy, slow, focused, the kind of footsteps made by someone who was not in a hurry. Someone who already knew their prey had nowhere else to run. Lyra sat inside the supply room, her silver knees pulled tight against her chest. Her little hands squeezed the whistle until her fingers turned pale. Her large eyes stared at the hallway. With pure terror, she knew the sound of those footsteps. She had heard them many times before on her home world. Footsteps that meant punishment, silence, and fear. Evan whispered, "It's okay. I'm here. I won't let him hurt you." Lyra looked at him, her eyes shaking. She didn't understand why this human janitor cared. She didn't understand why he stayed. But she felt something inside her, something that made her believe him. Even a little. Then the lights flickered again. A long shadow stretched across the hallway floor. And the hunter stepped into view. He was tall, almost 2 meters. His skin was dark gray with strange patterns. His eyes glowed amber, and 2 sharp bone-like edges curved from his jawline. He wore armor with the silent claw symbol engraved across the chest. His head moved slowly, smelling the air, tracking the scent he had followed across half the city. Lyra's breath broke into tiny, panicked gasps. She pressed herself deeper inside the supply room, her body shaking uncontrollably. The hunter turned his head toward the sound. He began walking step by step toward them, each step heavier than the last, each step making Lyra's fear grow. Evan stood up. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a fighter, but he stepped in front of the supply room door, blocking the hunter's path with nothing but his own body. When the hunter stopped in front of him, he tilted his head slowly. His voice came out low and rough. "Move, human." Evan swallowed but didn't step aside. "She's a child," he said. "She's scared. She doesn't belong to you." The hunter let out a low growl. "She belongs to the Silent Claw. Silence is her order. Her voice is forbiddance." Then clenched his fists. "That's cruel," he said. "She deserves better." The hunter leaned closer, his eyes glowing brighter. "You do not understand her purpose. You do not understand our law." "Well," Evan said, trying to stay strong. "Maybe your law is wrong." The hunter's jaw tightened. He stepped even closer, towering over Evan. "You protect her," he growled. "A fragile human protects our runaway? You are foolish." Evan took a deep breath. "You'll have to go through me." For a moment, there was silence. Then the hunter reached out with a long arm and shoved Evan aside like he was nothing. Evan hit the wall. Gasping in pain, Lyra cried. Silently, no voice, only tears, and the hunter stepped toward the supply room. Lyra pressed herself in the corner. She hugged the whistle to her chest like it was her last hope. The hunter reached for her long, sharp fingers stretching toward her small, shaking form. "Lyra." Evan whispered weakly. He pushed himself up, his muscles burning, his ribs hurting. The hunter grabbed Lyra's wrist. She struggled, her breath fast and broken, her eyes full of terror. The hunter hissed, "You ran far, but silence will return." Evan felt something in him snap. He charged at the hunter with all his strength. He grabbed the hunter's arm, pulling him back. The hunter snarled and threw Evan to the floor again. But that small fight did something. Lyra saw Evan trying for her. Trying even though he was weak, injured, and untrained. Trying even though he could die. And something in Lyra changed. Her fear became something else. A spark, a tiny flame inside her chest. A feeling she had never felt before. Courage. The hunter pulled her arm again. But Lyra lifted the whistle with her other hand. Her fingers shaking, her chest rising and falling fast. She brought the whistle to her lips. Evan looked up. Their eyes met for 1 second. He whispered, "Try, Lyra. Please." "Try." She closed her eyes, took one trembling breath, and blew. A tiny, fragile note escaped, soft, broken, weak, but real. The hunter froze. His eyes widened in shock. She wasn't supposed to make sound. She wasn't allowed to break the silence order. Lyra blew again, a slightly stronger note. A sound filled with fear, but also bravery, and at that very moment, far above Earth, a distant signal activated. A signal only one being would recognize. The alien queen, Lyra's true mother, heard the whistle of her lost child, and she was already coming. The tiny whistle note still hung in the air, soft, shaky, but real. Evan, lying on the floor with pain shooting through his ribs, stared in disbelief. Lyra had done it. She had made a sound, a small, fragile sound that felt braver than anything he had ever heard. The hunter froze completely. His amber eyes widened with shock. His grip on Lyra's wrist loosened just a little. Impossible. He hissed, "She cannot make sound." Her voice was sealed, but Lyra did not stop. Her eyes filled with tears, fear, pain, and hope all mixed together. She took another breath, still shaky, and raised the whistle again. This time the note was louder, still weak, but clearer. A trembling tone that echoed slightly through the hallway. The hunter jerked backward. He looked at her like she had broken a sacred law. His voice cracked with panic. "No, you must not. The queen will—" He stopped himself. His jaw tightened. But Evan heard enough. The queen. Someone powerful. Someone searching. Lyra lowered the whistle, holding it close to her chest. Her small chest heaved as she tried to breathe through her fear. Her eyes flicked to Evan, and in that moment, Evan realized something. She didn't blow the whistle for herself. She blew it to protect him. The hunter regained his anger. He growled deep in his throat and lunged toward her again. But Evan pushed himself up, ignoring the pain in his side. He wrapped his arms around the hunter's waist from behind, trying to pull him away from Lyra. The hunter roared and slammed Evan against a locker, metal dented. Pain exploded through Evan's back, but he didn't let go. He held on with everything he had. "Run, Lyra!" he shouted, even though he knew she couldn't speak or scream. Lyra didn't run. Instead, she stared at Evan with wide, terrified eyes. Her body shook as she clutched the whistle tighter. She looked down at it, then back at Evan, then at the hunter. She remembered something, a childhood memory, soft and distant. Her mother lifting her up and saying something gentle. A tune, a melody, a whistle lullaby, a code known only to royal children. A sound that summons help, a sound forbidden under the silent claw's rule. Lyra raised the whistle again with trembling hands. The hunter noticed and shouted, "No! You will bring them here. Stop!" Lyra blew the whistle, this time harder, stronger. A clear, bright note filled the hallway, not perfect, not steady, but powerful, a signal. The hunter roared in rage and shoved Evan aside. He lunged at Lyra, his claws stretched out, but something stopped him. A sudden shockwave trembled through the building. The lights flickered, the ground vibrated. A deep, thunderous sound rumbled from the sky outside. Not thunder, not aircraft engines, something bigger, something ancient. The hunter's eyes widened. No, they heard it. Evan pulled himself up again, gripping a nearby broom handle like a weapon. He positioned himself in front of Lyra without hesitation. Another whistle escaped from her lips, this time without the device. A small, shaky, human-like breath sound. First natural voice in years. Tears streamed down her cheeks. But she didn't stop outside. The thunderous noise grew louder. A bright blue-white light flashed across the windows. Shadows warped on the walls. The hunter backed away slowly, fear real. Fear flickering across his face. No. The royal fleet. "They are here." Evan stared in confusion, but Lyra understood. She stepped closer to Evan and gently grabbed the sleeve of his shirt, clinging to him like he was her anchor. The hunter hissed one last time. "You should not have taught her to make "Sound human, you do not understand what you have awakened." Then he ran. His heavy steps echoed down the hallway as he fled deeper into the school. Evan knelt beside Lyra, his breath rough, his ribs aching. "Lyra, are you okay?" Lyra nodded softly, her eyes shining with tears. She lifted the whistle again. Her hand still shaking, she placed it against Evan's chest. Gently, like she wanted him to know she trusted him. Before Evan could speak, a bright beam of blue light blasted through the windows. The sky outside had opened like a door. A massive royal ship slowly descended. Markings of gold and silver glowed across its hull, the insignia unmistakable, the royal crest of Lyra's mother, the alien queen. The whistle had done more than protect. It had called her family, her bloodline, her mother, and now they were coming for her. And for the human who taught her to break her silence. The blue-white light outside the school windows grew brighter and brighter until it filled the entire hallway. Evan had to shield his eyes with his arm as the giant ship descended slowly. The air vibrated, the tiles shook, and even the dust on the lockers danced in the tremble. Lyra stood still beside Evan, her small hand still holding the edge of his sleeve, her eyes wide not just with fear, but with something new, recognition, hope, memory. Evan looked at her face and realized she knew exactly who was coming. The royal ship stopped hovering above the school roof. It released a soft humming sound, and a glowing ramp of silver blue light dropped from its belly, the air filled with swirling particles of gold. It felt like standing in front of something ancient and powerful. Evan whispered, "Lyra, is that your people?" Lyra nodded slowly. Her lips trembled. Her chest rose and fell in uneven breaths. She held the whistle tightly again, like it connected her to whoever was coming down the ramp. The first figures appeared, tall royal guards, wearing gleaming armor with flowing blue capes. Their helmets shaped like crowns, their weapons glowing with soft energy. They moved with perfect synchronization, protective, alert, scanning for threats. Evan felt small compared to them, a janitor in worn-out work boots, holding nothing but a broomstick. But he didn't step back. He stayed close to Lyra. Then another figure appeared, smaller than the guards, but wrapped in a long flowing robe of shimmering silver. Her steps were soft, slow, and graceful. Her veil fluttered with the energy coming from the royal ship. Even before Evan knew who she was, he could feel her presence, strong, warm, powerful, ancient. Lyra took a tiny breath. Her fingers clutched Evan's sleeve tighter, her eyes filled with tears. The veiled figure walked closer, and when she reached the broken school window, she stepped inside like the air itself parted to support her. The guards followed, their armors glowing brighter as they entered the hall. The veiled woman stopped exactly 3 steps away from Lyra. Her hands long, elegant, glowing with faint blue lines lifted slowly toward her veil. With a gentle motion, she removed it. Her face glowed softly. Her eyes were deep blue with silver sparks, her skin a radiant pale gold. She looked like a being of light, beautiful and powerful, but her expression was the expression of a mother who had been searching for her lost child for a long, long time. Evan felt the truth hit him. He whispered, "She's the queen." Lyra took a shaky step forward, her breath hitched, her shoulders trembling. The queen lowered herself to one knee, a gesture no royal being ever did lightly. She stretched out her arms. "Lyra." She spoke softly, her voice warm, shaking ever so slightly with emotion. The sound hit Lyra like a memory. She gasped and covered her mouth with her hand. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Evan watched as Lyra slowly moved forward, her small feet dragging like she couldn't believe this moment was real. The queen opened her arms wider, and Lyra collapsed into them, silent sobs shaking her tiny body. She buried her face into her mother's chest, her hands clinging to the queen's robe desperately, like she had been holding her breath for years, and finally exhaled. The queen held her close, one hand stroking her hair, the other touching the side of Lyra's neck, where the faint mark of the silence device still remained. The queen closed her eyes, her voice deep with pain. They hurt you. My child, they hurt you so much. The guards bowed their heads in respect and sorrow. Evan felt tears rising in his own eyes. He had seen suffering before, but watching this quiet reunion, a mother finding the child she thought she had lost forever, it was overwhelming. After a moment, the queen lifted her gaze and looked directly at Evan, her blue-silver eyes studying him deeply, her arms still wrapped around her daughter. You are the human who protected her, she said softly. Evan swallowed. I tried, he said. I'm just a janitor, but she needed help. The queen shook her head gently. No, she said. You are not just anything. You are the one who made her speak again. Lyra, still holding her mother, turned and looked at Evan, her eyes full of gratitude and trust. She lifted the whistle with trembling hands and showed it to her mother, as if to say, he gave this back to me. The queen touched the whistle, her fingers glowing softly. This sound, she whispered. This small tone. It reached me across the stars. Evan blinked in shock. You heard it? All the way from your world? The queen nodded. A child of my bloodline carries a special resonance. Her whistle is more than sound. It is a call of the heart. Evan looked at Lyra in amazement. This tiny, silent girl had a voice strong enough to reach her mother across galaxies. The queen stood slowly, lifting Lyra into her arms, but Lyra reached back toward Evan, her hand stretching out, her eyes begging him not to leave her alone. The queen noticed. She turned to Evan once more. You saved my daughter, she said, and for that, your place is not behind us, but beside us. Evan stared at her, confused and stunned. What do you mean? The queen took a deep breath, her voice calm but powerful. You taught a princess to break her silence, and tomorrow, you will stand before an empire. Evan stood frozen in the hallway. The queen's words echoed in his mind like thunder. Tomorrow, you will stand before an empire. He, a janitor with old boots and a tired back, had no idea what she meant, but Lyra looked at him with trust, so deep that he felt something shift inside him. Before anyone could speak again, the queen turned to her guards. Search the school, she ordered. The hunter must be captured. The guards spread out instantly, their armor glowing softly. As they moved through the hallways, their steps were sharp, disciplined, nothing like the heavy, slow footsteps of the hunter. The queen carried Lyra in her arms, but Lyra leaned toward Evan, reaching her hand out. The queen lowered her gently so she could stand. Lyra walked shakily to Evan and touched his chest with her small hand. Her eyes glowed slightly with a soft silver light. It wasn't a power, it was gratitude, pure and simple. Evan knelt down so their eyes were level. He gave her a soft smile. You did something brave tonight, he whispered. You found your voice. Lyra lifted the whistle between her fingers. She pressed it into Evan's hand carefully, like she was giving him something precious. Is this for me? Evan asked softly. Lyra nodded. A tiny smile lifted the corners of her mouth, her first real smile since he met her. The queen watched quietly, her expression softened. She could see the bond forming between the human and her daughter. A loud crash came from the far hallway. A guard shouted, We found the hunter. But the queen did not move. Her attention stayed on the fragile moment between Lyra and Evan. She gently touched Lyra's shoulder. Come, child, she whispered. We must return to the ship. Lyra's face changed. Fear returned, not of her mother, but of leaving Evan behind. She grabbed Evan's sleeve again, holding it tightly. Shaking her head slowly, the queen saw it and paused. Her eyes softened with a mother's understanding. You do not want to leave him, she said gently. Lyra lowered her head, her small hands clutching Evan's shirt like it was the last safe thing in the universe. Evan felt something twist inside his chest. He placed a hand on Lyra's back. It's okay, he whispered. You need to go with your mother. But Lyra shook her head harder, her eyes filled with tears. She pressed her forehead against Evan's chest, her silent plea clear. Don't leave me. The queen stepped closer, her voice soft, human. Do you understand what you have become to her? Evan looked up slowly. Her protector? The Queen shook her head. No, you became something far more important. She gently touched the whistle in Evan's hand. It was not the whistle that broke her silence, she said. It was you. Evan swallowed hard. He didn't feel like a hero. He didn't feel like someone special. He was just a tired single dad trying to help a scared child. But Lyra looked at him with a love so pure, so deep that it broke every wall he had around his heart. The Queen took a deep breath. Then she said words Evan never expected. You are the one she trusts. You are the one she chose. And by our law, a royal child may choose her guardian. Evan blinked in shock. Guardian? But I'm just a janitor? The Queen finished gently, her voice calm, warm. A title does not define a soul. She touched Lyra's cheek, then placed Lyra's hand into Evan's, their fingers wrapped together instantly. If my daughter wishes to stay with you, the Queen continued, then you will stand with us. Not behind us. Evan stared at Lyra. Are you sure? He whispered. Lyra stepped closer and did something she had never done before. She opened her mouth and forced out a tiny broken word. Da. Dad. The sound was soft, cracked, weak, but it was a word. A real word. Her first spoken word in years. Evan felt tears rise instantly. He lifted her gently and held her close. You're safe, he whispered into her hair. I've got you. The Queen watched, her eyes shimmering with emotion. She bowed her head slightly, a rare gesture of respect from a ruler. You have given my daughter what no healer, no soldier, no royal could, she said quietly. You gave her a voice. And a father. The royal guards returned with the captured hunter. But the Queen raised her hand. We will depart, she said. Lyra has chosen her path. She turned to Evan again. Come, guardian of the princess. Evan held Lyra close. The whistle hanging from his fingers, he took a deep breath and stepped forward. A simple janitor, now walking with an alien queen, with a silent princess who found her voice because of him. As the royal ship opened for them, Lyra leaned her head on Evan's shoulder, her tiny hand gripping his shirt, her voice barely a whisper, a breath, a promise. Dad. Evan smiled through his tears. I'm here always and together. They entered the light, a human father and an alien princess, bound. Not by blood, but by love, courage, and a whistle that echoed across the stars.